Hello and welcome to another HTML and CSS tutorial. In this tutorial we will look at pseudo classes. So we've already looked at classes and IDs and we've also looked at the parent-child relationship in CSS. So in this tutorial we'll look at pseudo classes, and pseudo classes are built in to CSS, so you can't just make your own pseudo class. And so what I've done in this HTML document, I've already set it up, and so it's linked to an external style sheet called stylesheet8.css, which I have open here as well. And in the body section, there's just 3 paragraphs, and I've just repeated text there in the paragraphs. So there's just the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, repeated a few times in a paragraph, and then another copy of that paragraph, and another one. So that's all in the body section. And then if we look at the style sheet, I've added some code here. So I've got P, and then colon, first letter with the hyphen in the middle, and then inside curly brackets I've got font size 150%. So I've increased the font size of the first letter in the paragraph, and the font weight is bold, and the color is red. So what basically is going on here is we're grabbing the paragraph element. So every paragraph element that we have here, so there's 3 paragraphs in our HTML document. So we're grabbing the paragraph, and then after this colon we're saying first letter. So it's going to apply this style to the first letter of every paragraph. And then here we have another style, and we're grabbing the paragraph element again, and we're saying for the first line of every paragraph we want the color of the text to be blue. Okay, so the first letter will be a little bit bigger, it will be bold and red, and the first line will be blue for every paragraph. So let's have a look at this in the browser, and there we go. So we have the first letter is red, the text size is a bit bigger, it's bold, and then the first line of every paragraph is blue. And then the second line, and if there were any more lines in these paragraphs, they're just going to be black because no style has been applied to them. Okay, so that's some examples, or 2 examples there of pseudo classes. So grabbing a paragraph element and then applying a style to just the first letter, and also to the first line. But there's some more pseudo classes that we can look at. So here we have another HTML document, and this is linked to stylesheet9.css, which I've also got open here. And at the top of the body section, so the first tag in the body section is a paragraph tag. So there's a paragraph, and then there's a div which has an ID of parent, and inside that div there's 4 separate paragraphs. Okay, so we have a paragraph outside the div, so its parent is the body. And then we have a div here called parent, and these paragraphs are children of this div called parent. Okay, so if we have a look at the style sheet, we have hashtag parent. So it's this first style here is grabbing the parent div, so that the div that has an ID of parent, that's what it's called. And then from that div, it's grabbing the P tag or paragraph tag, and it says first child. Okay, first child. This the style that's been set for this is color text. The color of the text is green. The text decoration is underlined, and the font weight is bold. Then we also grab the parent div ID again, and paragraph tag inside that parent ID, or that parent div, sorry. And then we say last child. So the first one here is saying first child, and the second style is saying last child. And this color is going to be red. There's not going to be any text decoration, and the font style is going to be italic. So we're going to have 2 different styles here for the first child and the last child of this these paragraphs in the parent div. So if we have a look at that, I might just cut this code out for a sec so we don't see that. So I'll go back to page2.html, and we'll test it in the browser. Okay, so this is what happens. So we have this paragraph here, which was not inside any div. It's just a regular paragraph in the body section of the web page. So there's no style that's been applied to that. But then we have these 4 paragraphs inside the div that has an ID of parent. And we've said that the first child paragraph should be green and should be underlined and should be bold. And then we also said that the last child paragraph of this div should be red and should be in italics. Okay, so that's, if we have a look at our CSS, that's worked. So we've got first child, green, underline, bold, and we've got last child, red, no text decoration, and just italic. Okay, and that's only happening to the first child and the last child inside the div. Nothing's happening to the first paragraph because it's not inside a div that we're referring to, and nothing's happening to these 2 paragraphs here because they're not the first and last child. Alright, and I'll just add that extra style here. So we've got another style, and I'll just save that. And this time we're saying parent, so we're grabbing that parent div again. And we're saying paragraph before, and also here for this style we're saying paragraph after. And what this will do, we have a content, we have the typed in content here, the content property, and inside quotation marks I've added some extra text. So I've added an arrow for before and an arrow for after, pointing in 2 different directions. And what we're actually doing is adding content, so just plain text content, before the paragraph, so before each paragraph in the div, and we're also adding some text content after each paragraph in the parent div. So I'm going to go back and refresh this page, and now you can see those arrows, so there and there, have been added to each paragraph only inside this div, okay? Because if we look at the code, we're only applying this to paragraphs inside the parent div. So we've got parent div here, we're referring to that, and then paragraph, and then we're saying before, and we're saying after. So we could change this content here inside these quotation marks to anything. So we could say hello and goodbye, save that, and refresh, and it's changed there as well. So there are some uses for that, which you'll see later on in further tutorials, but at the moment you probably won't use that pseudo class very much. All it's doing is adding a little bit of content to the start of a paragraph and to the end of a paragraph, and it's doing that for every paragraph inside the div that has an ID of parent. Okay, so that's pseudo classes. You might find that the first child and the last child pseudo classes will be very handy, but you might find that the first letter pseudo class might also be very handy. For example, a lot of news websites or newspapers might make the first letter of a sentence a little bit bigger, or the first letter of a paragraph a little bit bigger. Sometimes even the first line, if it's a headline, might be a little bit bigger as well. So some of those pseudo classes can be quite handy, and there's more pseudo classes that exist, but just remember that pseudo classes are built into CSS. You can't just go and make your own pseudo classes. You need to use the ones that already exist, like first letter, first line, first child, last child, before and after. Okay, thanks for watching.